Okay, I'll call the regular meeting of council August 21st, 2024 to order, please. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda with the amendments?
I, Councillor Holt, move to approve the agenda with the amendments.
Okay, item 3, the CAO treasurer.
What is the amendment?
You have to read the whole thing,
Where was it?
the very first thing.
Yeah. On the proposed.
Proposed motion? Oh, okay, so I, Councillor Holt, move to approve the agenda with the following amendments. 6A, CRSC presentation / public hearing, rezoning application for PID number 750-57406.
I, Susan Jonah, second the motion.
Okay, any questions, comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. Thank you, council. Item 3, the CAO treasurer reports to be removed from the consent section and moved to business arising at number 7A. In the Upper Kings Clear Hanwell Fire Department report to be removed from consent section, moved to business arising 7B. Any disclosures, council?
I have disclosure conflict of interest for 8A.
Okay.
Yeah, the same councillor, there you go.
Okay, thank you. Public input inquiries, I don't believe we have any tonight, I'm aware of. And we have a presentation, item 6, presentation, petitions or delegations. We have a CRSC presentation for a public hearing for rezoning application for PID number 75057406. And I'm going to turn the floor over to our friends from the CRC.
Thank you, Mayor Morrison, Council. So the Capital Region Service Commission has received an application to rezone PID 75057406, 10 Ledford Lane, from the residential zone to the rural zone under the Kingsclear Planning Area Rural Plan. The applicant intends to operate a contractor's yard on the property. So we have an aerial photo here showing the location of the property. It's located just off the Maseral Settlement Road in a subdivision that largely consists of low-density residential development. Site visits were conducted, which showed that there is an existing buffer of deciduous trees surrounding most of the property, which offers a bit of a visual buffer, particularly in the summer months. And it was also noted during the site visits that access to the property is located next to the community mailboxes, which could present a safety concern. When we consider the intent of the rural plan, there are two perspectives. Some policies and proposals advocate for the maintenance of attractive and safe neighborhoods by discouraging incompatible uses into established residential areas. Other policies and proposals state that certain non-residential uses are intrinsic to the rural areas and they diversify the local economic base and should be permitted in residential zones. The Statement of Public Interest Regulation was enacted in 2023 and all planning decisions must align with the statements. For this proposal, the relevant statements to consider are within the settlement pattern statements, particularly number 1 and 4, to promote efficient development and land use patterns that are in the best interests of the province, local governments, and residents in the long term, and 4, to avoid development and land use patterns that may cause environmental or health and safety issues. So if we look at an excerpt of the Kingsclear zoning map, we can see that the entire subdivision of the subject property is located in is zoned residential, while the bulk of the properties surrounding the subdivision are all zoned rural. So in terms of external consultation, comments were solicited from the Department of Environment and Local Government, Department of Transportation and Infrastructure, Department of Justice and Public Safety, Department of Natural Resources and Energy Development, Department of Education and Early Childhood Development, and the Department of Health. Of the departments who did send comments into us, the main concerns were that any decision must align with the statements of public interest and that the proposed use could cause nuisance to neighbors from noise and dust. So advertisement for this public hearing was advertised on the Hanwell website as well as by a mail-out that was sent to property owners within 100 meters of the subject property. Residents were given until 4 p.m. today to send in any written comments in case they were unable to attend this meeting tonight. No comments were received by the CRSC. And so should council vote to adopt the proposed rezoning, the bylaw should be subject to terms and conditions to mitigate any concerns related to safety, nuisance, and environmental considerations, such as the following. 1, that the permitted uses on PID 75057406 be limited to the following uses from the rural zone, section 4.4 of the plan. A, one or more of the following main uses. A contractor's yard, subject to terms and conditions as may be set by the commission. A single family dwelling or a two-family dwelling. B, one or more of the following secondary uses. A class 1 home-based business, subject to section 4.1, and a garden suite, subject to section 4.3. And C, any accessory building, structure, or use incidental to the main use of the land, building, or structure, if such a main use is permitted by this section.
Oh, sorry.
2, that all signs be in accordance with the applicable provisions of the Kingsclear Planning Area Rural Plan Regulation, Community Planning Act 06 KNG 04100, and in accordance with any applicable Department of Transportation and Infrastructure policies. That parking be in accordance with the applicable provisions of the Kingsclear Planning Area Rural Plan Regulation. That any alterations in or within 30 meters of a watercourse or wetland, mapped or unmapped, require a watercourse and wetland alteration permit under the Watercourse and Wetland Alteration Regulation, Regulation 90-80, as per subsection 12.2 of the New Brunswick Clean Water Act. That outdoor lighting be located, arranged, or shielded so as to not interfere with neighbors' reasonable enjoyment of their properties. That, where possible, existing shrubs and trees be maintained around the perimeter of the property. That the operation of the contractor's yard adheres to all applicable government regulations. And that the rezoning of lands herein does not mean an approval or the issuing of subsequent permits or approvals such as for building or subdivision. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brooks. Appreciate your presentation. Mr. Bernard, would you like to make any comments tonight? Do you have anything to add?
I have nothing to add.
Okay. Staff, did we receive any letters? If so, we'll get you to read them into the record.
No, we didn't.
No letters received. Would anyone else like to speak? We would also ask that anyone speaking for the rezoning speak first, and that anyone opposed to the rezoning speak next. Do we have anybody wishing to speak? Okay. So again, I'll ask Mr. Bernard one more time if he has anything to say. Obviously, nobody else spoke, so I'm assuming you're all right.
Well, I can speak. I mean, you know, I'd like to just say that I'm trying to maintain the yard so it's presentable. We are in a building phase, so it's taken some time. You know, there's going to be a fence around it, so or at least to the front of it on the road, so that it's less visible, and we'll be plowing all that earth out, so there's a little bit of a mound there. But when this all came about, it was because the building hadn't been sided, so it's completed, and you know, I think it's quite presentable in the subdivision.
Okay, thank you, Mr.
And
Bernard.
that's really about it, I guess.
Yeah. Okay, very good. Council, do you have any questions, keeping in mind that this is not a debate? You can only ask questions about the application procedure or to request additional information. We're good? Okay, the public hearing is now adjourned. Can I get a motion to adjourn, please?
I, Deputy Mayor Jonah, move to adjourn the public meeting portion of our meeting.
Aye, Councillor McKenzie, second.
Any questions, comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on to item B, we had a presentation by, oh yeah, if anybody wants to leave, they can. If they want to stay, they're more than welcome. Item B was a presentation by Mr. Claude Robichaud, who I haven't seen here tonight, so I'm assuming he's going to have his presentation at probably another date and time. So, moving on to item 7, business arising from consent section, if applicable, we have the CAO Treasurer's Report in retraction.
Council, at our last meeting, we were discussing the application that was going to go forward for the Municipal Capital Borrowing Board for our fire truck. And at the time, I had mentioned to you that because the fire truck is a specialized vehicle, that we do not have to go to tender. A couple of municipalities had mentioned that to us. However, the next day after our council meeting, I had to wait to even discuss tendering until I found out if we were going to qualify for funding, if you guys wanted to approve it, and then we can go to tender process. So I spoke to procurement and found out that there are criteria for when we can go for a tender and when we can't. We don't need a tender, so I'm going to read the following letter. I would like for it to be part of the minutes so that people in the public can understand what happened and the reasoning why I stated that. So, with the municipal reform, fire services from the Upper Kingsclear Fire Department were transferred from the authority of the province to the local government of Hanwell. The National Fire Protection Association, NFPA, requires that frontline fire apparatus is 20 years old or less, which means over the next 10 years we have a few fire trucks that must be replaced. The first one to be replaced is a 2003 Sterling pumper truck, which has already expired and needs to be replaced immediately. At our August 1st special meeting of council, the application to the Municipal Capital Borrowing Board was brought forward to council to borrow funding in the amount of $1.2 million for the replacement of the 2003 Sterling pumper truck. At the meeting, I mentioned to council that I was told by 2 other municipalities that a public tender was not required for the purchase of a fire truck. Once council approved the authorization for us to apply for the funding through the Municipal Capital Borrowing Board, MCBB, at the August 1st special meeting of council, I contacted the procurement department the next morning, August the 2nd, to confirm that the fire truck purchases don't require a public tender. There are stipulations that are required to not go through the public tender process, in which we don't meet those stipulations. Therefore, we will be going to public tender. We are not late in the process, as the funding application had to be done first to see if we could afford the truck. Council had to approve the application to be sent to the Municipal Capital Borrowing Board, and then we can do a tender with the stipulation that it can't be awarded until confirmation of funding is approved from the Municipal Capital Borrowing Board. This hearing is scheduled for September the 9th, and I believe it's at 2:30. The procurement department stated that we can go through Service New Brunswick and purchase a fire truck without a tender through a program called Regional Economic Development. However, fire trucks or any other equipment/vehicles have to be purchased through a New Brunswick company. This program can only be utilized 10 times per year through all of New Brunswick. So that is universities, municipalities, government, stuff like that. Due to us being on a tight deadline for our expiring truck and not knowing if we are guaranteed to be one of the 10, we need to do a public tender to provide all companies the opportunity to either bid or decline due to the deadline. As many companies have a 1 to 2 year wait list for fire trucks, we could go through Service New Brunswick for our next trucks that are expiring because we have the allotted time, but we don't with this current fire truck replacement. The fire department has a fire truck/equipment committee which researches various companies to see what types of equipment and vehicles are out there, what is needed for our fire trucks and our fire service equipment, and the costs. Prior to the Upper Kingsclear Hanwell Fire Department being transferred to Hanwell, they did all of this research and did a presentation to council in February of 2024 so that we could have a baseline cost for our funding application. There is no favoritism in choosing a company. The public tender will be open to all companies who are able to deliver a replacement pumper truck as per the specifications detailed in the tender that will be drafted in the coming weeks.
Thank you, Ms. Barker. Can I get a motion to receive the CAO Treasurer's Report and retraction?
Councillor DeCleva, move to receive the CAO Treasurer's Report and retraction as read.
Seconder?
Councillor Holt, second the motion.
Any questions, comments, concerns to the CAO or any other comments?
No.
All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Now moving on to 7B, Upper Kingsclear Hanwell Fire Report. Chief Krause, you're up.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. July was fairly busy. 26 calls in July. Everyone had a chance to review. Any questions? I took mark down what we've been running so far. Incidents, which is classed as anything 911 sends. We've had 150 so far this year, and we're up to 1,780 man hours. Training, 38 sessions, and that puts us at 1,750 for hours. Activities are truck checks, different things that are going on, like daycares and such. 102 of those at 2,950 hours. So grand total is 290 incidents altogether. Put together as 6,500 man hours from your fellows.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's, thank you for that update, Chief. That gives us a very broad understanding of just what happens with the fire department. We certainly realize just how busy you guys are. It's amazing the amount of time that's involved.
Oh, yeah.
And volunteers.
Exactly.
This is incredible.
You take all the
It's
people.
volunteer work.
It's all volunteer work, and as you heard, they give lots of time for the community and stuff to keep things up and running.
It's a big job, big responsibility.
It is, so. Anything else?
No, I'd just like to say though, I think it's amazing, because if you think of all the other volunteer groups and all the other people who, don't volunteer, I think that this small group of people puts in so much time and so much effort that it's not even comparable to anybody else, not even us.
Well, the other thing is too, like, we run a lot of calls, as you can see, and that keeps the interest up as well.
It does, yeah.
And then I have lots of people under me that well-educated, well-trained and stuff, and bringing back things, to try and work on.
I did love the daycare pictures of the little guy with the hose.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else, Chief?
We had, last Saturday we had a little bit of an open house, I guess you could call it. Cole St. Anne football team.
Okay.
They were doing a car wash and a yard sale.
Yeah, that was right out here, Station 2. Yeah.
And that got busy, they earned $1,100 car wash.
They did well.
That's pretty good.
They did very well. Yeah.
The yard sale wasn't that hot, I guess, but the car wash was a big, so
Yeah, nice.
That's
What a
good.
idea.
It's nice to
done
see it.
well for them.
And they had a good day for it.
Oh, yeah.
Which even makes it
Excellent
better.
day, excellent day.
Okay, can I get a motion to receive the fire report, please?
Motion to receive fire department report by
Second.
Councilor McKenzie.
Seconder?
I'll second, Deputy Mayor Jonah.
Any questions? Any more questions, comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried, thank you. Item 8, new business, Upper Kingston Fire Department Association. So, got a couple of exits.
Keep on moving. The gate's shut, you can't get back out.
Yeah, did you need back down the list, or are you just well aware?
I'll just mention it for the public
Yep.
and for our residents.
No, they're not voting on you. No.
Okay, council, so, our last meeting, I had also discussed with you, the fire department gets reimbursed for any, DNR, related fires, so from natural resources. So any that they are called to, Chief Crow sends in a report to the department, and they would send back that money for the cost of the equipment that is used and any manpower that is used. Prior, when they were with the province would give back to Chief Crows the money that is used for the firefighters, for that allotment, and it would go into their association. And it could be dispersed to the firefighters, it could be used for anything that they felt that they wanted. So I had mentioned this to you, wondering if you guys would also be interested in doing that, because all of that fund is now coming to us from natural resources. And we wanted to make sure where it's coming to a municipality that we were able to do it. So excuse me, I contacted our auditor, and she said that we were permitted to do the same thing. So an income line item has already been set up in our accounting system so that we can track any payment. And she suggested that we set up an expenditure sub-account to our community grants so that we can track the expenditure. So Dave Kelly and Associates, our auditor, has suggested that a motion be made by council giving the treasurer, myself, authorization to transfer the firefighters' portion of the DNR reimbursements to the Upper Kingsclear Fire Department Association. So this is worded as the Upper Kingsclear Fire Department and not the Upper Kingsclear Handwall, because that is how their association is set up, so just so that we are clear on that. By doing a motion, it wouldn't be necessary for me to bring it forward to you each time I received a payment, so it would just be a blanket motion, so anytime that I get those funds in. At our next meeting, I will give you the actual cost of this. There has actually been a lot of fires. I'm very surprised. So there's a bunch of them that I just want to confirm with Chief Crows to make sure that the remittance that I've got matches his paperwork and stuff. So at my September meeting, I'll actually bring you back the cost and the income that we have received. So what we, Chief Crows and I had discussed the cost that we receive on the cost of the equipment that is charged. So anything that any equipment repairs, maintenance or whatever, or if they have to buy something that wasn't budgeted, we could use those funds for. At the end of the year, we will transfer those into our capital reserves, and it can go towards future fire trucks or equipment and stuff like that. So I think this is a great opportunity for us to be able to save for one of our many fire trucks that are going to be replaced over the next 10 years, and also gives the firefighters the opportunity to do whatever they want with those funds as well. So I have a motion on the back of the sheet. If somebody would like to make it, and then you can ask any questions if you have further questions.
Sure. I, Councillor McKenzie, move to authorize and direct the treasurer to reimburse the Upper Kingsclear Fire Department Association for any reimbursements from DNR pertaining to the costs associated with firefighters, and the portion for the equipment costs will be used towards any unbudgeted equipment costs, or will be transferred at the end of the year to the capital reserve fund towards future capital expenditures for the fire department.
Can I have a seconder, please?
I, Councillor Brunlow, second the motion.
Okay, any questions, comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried, thank you. We'll bring the other folks back in.
I was gonna get ready to yell to it.
Oh, dragged it in. Item 9, proclamations, there are not any, and we're going to end the closed session, so I want to thank the fire folks for attending tonight. It's really decent of you folks to show up. I know you're extremely busy in your personal lives along with your firefighting lives. This wasn't a training night, so I really appreciate you guys showing up. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks. See you later.
Okay, can we get a motion to move into closed session?
Deputy Mayor Joyner moved to move into closed session.
Councillor Holt, second the motion.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, we are now in closed session. No? Okay, can I have a motion to go to closed session?
I, Councillor Holt, move to come out of the closed session and move back into open session.
Seconder?
Councillor DeCleva, second.
Any comments, questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? We are now back in open session. Can I have a motion to adjourn, please?
Motion to adjourn. Aye, Councilor McKenzie, motion to adjourn.
Meeting adjourned at, looks like
Councillor Holt,
8:50.
second.
8:50? No, 7?
7:50.
7:50.
7:50.